Hello, I'm Patty, and today I'll be talking about reforming hormonal birth control policies to protect mental health. Imagine being 18 or 19, finally being able to take control of your health, doing what millions of women do every year, starting birth control. You're told by your providers it's safe, effective, has minimal side effects, and even may benefit your current symptoms like acne. But a few months later, you're not feeling like yourself anymore. You're more anxious than ever, more down. You feel emotionally off. And the worst part is you do not know why. You blame school, work, sleep, stress, maybe even think you're just being dramatic, or that is what you're told. But what if the changes you're feeling are not random at all? A lot of people in college either take birth control themselves or know someone who does. And when it affects your mental health, it's not just a minor inconvenience, it touches every aspect of your life. Your classes, your motivation, your hobbies, your mood, your relationships, and your overall well being. As someone studying health sciences and psychology, and someone who genuinely is passionate about women's health as it is to be my career, I've spent a lot of time digging into the research behind hormonal contraceptives and mental health. What I found made me realize how urgently we need better policies and better conversations surrounding this topic. The research I'll be referencing includes a 2016 JAMA Psychiatry study that followed over 1 million women and a 2022 systematic review from the World Journal of Biological Psychiatry. Together, they paint a clear picture that the public rarely hears. My thesis is simple. The United States must reform hormonal birth control policies to better address mental health risks, ensure true informed consent for young adults, and expand research into safer contraceptive alternatives. Today, I'm going to explain the mental health risks linked to hormonal birth control, how lack of informed consent leaves young people unprepared, and why policy reform can make birth control safer, more transparent, and more equitable. Let's start with the actual research. Not rumors, not personal experience, but large-scale scientific peer-reviewed studies. In 2016, Skovlund and colleagues published a massive study in JAMA Psychiatry that followed more than 1 million women for over a decade. They found that users of hormonal contraceptives, including pills, patches, and IUDs, had a higher risk of developing depression, and the group most affected? Adolescents and young adults. That's people our age. Then, in 2022, Elsayed and colleagues conducted a systematic review focusing specifically on the hormonal IUD, one that is one of the most common hormonal devices. They found associations with new onset or worsening depression, anxiety, and emotional disturbances. And again, these effects appeared mostly in young users. So this is not just hormones being hormones. This isn't just something that's in your head. There's scientific evidence that hormonal contraceptives, especially those with strong synthetic progestins, can influence neurotransmitters like serotonin, the happy hormone, and GABA, which regulate mood, stress response, and emotional balance. By themselves, these findings are concerning, but what makes it worse is how rarely young patients are told any of this information. Because even though these risks exist, most people never hear about them before starting birth control or doing their own research. If you've ever started hormonal birth control, you probably remember the counseling lasting 10 minutes, maybe 15? Most patients are told about the physical symptoms: cramping, spotting, acne, weight changes, some mood changes. But even though two major research bodies and more have documented mental health associations, this is rarely emphasized during counseling. The 2022 systematic review even noted that adverse psychological symptoms go underreported because clinicians don't routinely screen for mood changes after insertion or starting a method. So what happens? Someone may get an IUD or start a pill or an implant, and 2 to 3 months later, they're dealing with constant anxiety and depressive symptoms that feel like they came out of nowhere. Instead of being told it might be related to their contraception and lowering their dosage, they're often prescribed more medicine, antidepressants. Or they blame themselves and don't even address this with their gynecologist because they think that it's a separate issue. For many people, this may go on for months, for some, even years, affecting their quality of life. When a method has the potential to affect mental health, patients deserve to know that up front. They deserve a follow-up, they deserve communication, not silence. So what would policy reform actually look like? It doesn't mean getting rid of hormonal birth control altogether. It means making it safer and more transparent. Here are 3 simple changes we can make. First, routine mental health check-ins. Just like you'd get a follow-up for the physical side effects, patients should get mood screenings at 3, 6, and 9 months intervals after starting a new hormonal birth control. This would catch symptoms early and allow people to switch methods before things spiral. Second, true informed consent counseling. That means not just stating the minimal side effects, but explaining the potential emotional and psychiatric effects as well, especially for young adults. When patients know what to look for, they're empowered to advocate for themselves. And third, increased research funding for safer alternatives. We need more options. Non-hormonal options, not just the copper IUD, male contraceptives, and hormonal methods with fewer psychiatric impacts. Birth control shouldn't require choosing between preventing pregnancy and protecting your mental health. And if we implement these policy reforms, so many cases of preventable distress could be avoided. To conclude, the mental health risks associated with hormonal birth control are real, documented, and often overlooked. Today, I explained the mental health associations found both in large-scale and systematic studies, the lack of informed counseling that leaves many young adults blindsided, and the policy reforms that could create a safer and more supportive environment and system. By reforming hormonal birth control policies, we protect not just productive freedom, but emotional well-being as well. And as someone going into women's health, I believe that is one of the most important steps we can take as a healthcare system. Thank you so much and have a great day.